What's guys? Welcome back to the Channel Duo Podcast, episode number 11. Today we're joined by not really the bald man anymore, slightly haired purple swordfish. What's going on?
Yeah, it's couldn't shave the head because I had a couple cuts on the back of my head that I didn't want to reopen. So we're growing the hair out. And to all those people that say I'm bald, look at this, man. I'm not bald. I got a big forehead. I've always had a big forehead
The
since I was
funny
like
shaped
11.
object still kind of noticeable on your head.
The what?
The funny shaped object on your
Well, you
head.
see the patch here that's kind of thin. That's just gray hair that the webcam doesn't pick up. But yeah, like a lot of people will be like, yeah, man, but you have like a hairline that's kind of high, and I always tell them like, no. When I was 11, I had a high hairline then, and like I couldn't. I tried spiking my hair when I was 11. I thought it was gonna look really cool, and I just looked really weird. I just looked like a balding 11-year-old because I have a really high hairline. Anyway, how are you, Andy?
Good, I guess. Just watched a kind of boring game.
Thursday night, man. It's Thursday night. It's always kind of boring.
I mean, Baltimore, Cincinnati.
Yeah, we were split on that one.
We were, and I went Cincinnati, you went Baltimore. I came
Yeah.
out on top. We ran a poll. 29% of the fans agreed with me, and we came out on top. Let's go.
Well, Baltimore looked really convincing last week. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about week one in the NFL season, but
Yeah.
Baltimore looked really, really good last week, and I guess that's good news for whoever's facing Buffalo this week because the Ravens.
Josh Allen starting this week, actually.
Well, yeah, but I got to be honest with you. As much as I like Josh Allen, I don't really think that he looked tremendous.
Well, I mean,
even in
gonna be
garbage
rough.
time. And boy, the Chargers, they're going to be very happy to face Buffalo, I'm sure. Even
My
though I
mom,
believe they're going on the road to Buffalo. I would have to look that one up one more time, but I have it
that
down
doesn't
here.
really matter.
Well, here's the thing, man. West Coast teams typically do not travel well to the East Coast. I've talked about that for years. And typically an East Coast team going to the West Coast will perform better than a West Coast team going to the East Coast. I know that sounds weird, but it's
But
the way it is.
The Chargers basically play 16 away games. Have you ever seen their stadium?
Well,
Their home support is really bad.
yeah, I think that the Chargers basically play in a giant concrete burrito. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like it doesn't really look like a stadium anymore. It's not like a modern NFL stadium. It's not even close.
Yeah.
I think they have a MLS team that plays there, right?
They
I
took
think that's
the
it, right?
MLS stadium. Like, it was the MLS stadium that they're sharing with that team.
Yeah, I mean, like, we have an MLS stadium here in Orlando. I couldn't imagine them having a football game there. I think it has a capacity of, 13 to 14. I could be wrong on this. I'd have to look it up. But the capacity is not very large. It's a very small venue. It didn't cost a lot of money to build. And, I'm glad that Orlando has one. I mean, it's better than not having one. But it's a beautiful little stadium. It's brand new. But, I mean, the Chargers,
Capacity is 27,000.
27. That's not bad. It's not terrible. But doesn't a typical NFL stadium hold much, much more than that?
Yeah.
Like, I want to say, like, let me just look it up right here. Raymond James Stadium.
I'm looking up the rankings to see where it goes in the rankings.
It's got to be the lowest, right?
It is the lowest. It's the lowest by almost, like, the next least stadium is almost double.
Yeah.
The next one is Oakland or O.co at 53,000.
Yeah, because, like, here in Orlando, we have the soccer stadium. It's very small. And then right down the road, we have the Citrus Bowl. I don't know. Well, they call it Camping World Stadium now. But it used to be the Citrus Bowl when I was a kid. And I think that seats like 65,000. So it's a pretty big difference. They're both huge buildings, but it's a big difference. Anyway, so episode 11 had a ton of listener questions. So I suppose we should just get into those right away. So I'll start with the first one here. It's from Colby. I almost called him Colbster because it's his Twitter handle. He's a great follow on Twitter, by the way. Colbster409 on Twitter. Huge Cowboys fan. How about them Cowboys? But he asks, What sport would be the funnest to add a mandatory amount of alcohol to? I'll let you lead off, Andy.
I don't know. I didn't actually think about this. So off the top, I'm gonna go with tennis.
Okay.
Watching players stumble around trying to hit things. You know,
Okay.
I don't know. Because I feel like, baseball, everyone's already drunk. Football, they might perform better because they don't feel anything.
Okay.
Basketball may be fun. I don't know.
Nah.
Hockey would be fun.
See, that was my answer, actually. It was hockey. Of the major sports, it would be hockey. I feel like you get more fights. I feel like there'd be more big hits.
I have the winner. UFC. Just have a bunch of drunk bar fights.
UFC. Well, I'm pretty sure Tank Abbott in UFC might have fought a couple times drunk. But yeah, man, I mean, my answer would be NHL. And then my secondary answer, because it's not a major sport, I don't even know what it's called. They have this thing. I was talking about this on ESPN. They were showing it off one weekend.
Is it the hill rolling thing?
It's when they it's these guys. They got remote controlled drones, but they're they're really
drone racing.
Yeah, they're really fast drones, and they're drone.
Yeah.
I want to see that with them drunk.
So they just crash their drones.
Yeah, dude. I think that'd make for great television. But like, if we got to talk about major sports, I would say NHL. You'd have more fights, more collisions, all that.
NASCAR would be great too.
Horribly irresponsible. Why is it that I feel like they've probably broached that topic at some point, though? Ratings are down, guys. We're trying to inject some
After
excitement.
every lap, you gotta take a shot.
Yeah, just it's like built right into the helmet, just like that'd be a good one. But thank you, Colbster 409 for the question, and thanks for being a listener. We appreciate it. Let's get into the next question here. This is actually a really interesting one. I think Andy and I might disagree on this a little bit. It comes from Dumbest Sphinx, and he's on Twitter at Dumbest Sphinx, and he asks, is all publicity good publicity? And I will lead off here and just say I agree with the legendary David Lee Roth in saying that all publicity is generally good publicity. And even if it's controversial, again, to quote another legendary person, Eric Bischoff, controversy creates cash. So unless it's something inherently evil, right? Like, I don't know, human trafficking or, murder, publicity is generally a good thing no matter what kind of publicity it is.
I mean, I don't know about the murder part, because I think O.J. Simpson's more popular now than he's ever been.
Memorabilia prices would disagree with you, by the way. But recently, he signed 600. I want to say it was like 600 Buffalo Bills authentic NFL helmets, and the collector who had contracted him for this was thinking that they would get a big payoff. And what they found out is that a lot of people don't want anything to do with O.J. Simpson. They don't want to own anything that he's touched.
I feel like if you ask the average person, in like, what do you think of O.J. Simpson? They're gonna go with murderer more than an NFL player, though.
Probably. I think it's a generational thing. So I think people that are from my like, I never got to see O.J. Simpson play, and I'm older than you, right? I saw his trial when I was in the very early stages of middle school. I want to say I was in 5th or 6th grade, right? So like someone like yourself, you've probably never watched a full game that O.J. Simpson has played in.
No, not
like, you know of him as a player, and you know his accomplishments, and you probably know his stats because you're an NFL guy. But even you, an NFL, don't take this the wrong way, a nerd of the NFL, like someone who really knows the NFL, like, you probably just know his stats. You don't remember watching him play. So I think it's kind of a generational thing. Would you buy O.J. Simpson memorabilia or no?
Yeah. I'd buy a lot of people's memorabilia.
You would buy so much stuff.
If I could have a signed OJ Simpson jersey hung on that wall, like I would do it.
I don't know that I'd be opposed to it. I think that's like my big thing is I don't think I'd be opposed to it, but it is kind of weird, I guess. I think my wife would have a bigger issue with it than I would. But in general, Andy, do you think any publicity is good publicity? Because like the Nike controversy recently, I think
sales are up right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good example. Like, I know there's some people who are really upset about this, but again, to go back to the controversy creates cash thing, I mean, like pushing the boundaries. If you look at most successful marketing campaigns over, I don't know, like let's just say the last 30 or 40 years, a lot of those are going to be ones that kind of push the boundaries a little bit. So I think being a little controversial is not a bad thing.
Try it out.
Yeah. You know, like I might just spout off some really poorly thought out ideas right now. You know, maybe boost this podcast up a little bit on the iTunes charts, but I'm not going to do that because we're certified clean on the iTunes. Anyway, but thank you, Dumbest Sphinx, for that question. I honestly think, unless it's something inherently evil, like publicity is a good thing. If people are talking about you, it's good, and it's gonna help you more than likely.
I don't know. I feel like Jake Paul, you know, he did something stupid, but came away more people knowing who he was.
And has it hurt him long term?
No.
Like let's just look over the course of 12 months.
Not at all.
It hasn't hurt him. It's helped him, if anything.
But like now he was like on CNN,
Yeah.
Fox News, like.
Without the controversy, do you think he ever gets on CNN or Fox News?
Well, he
Fox
was
News
a couple
wouldn't
times
care.
for other reasons.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't think Fox News would have cared.
I mean,
CNN maybe.
I don't confirm that he was actually on Fox News after the controversy, but
Yeah, you don't know Fox News' demographic, man. I go to a bar where people watch Fox News, and I look at the people who are actually there to watch Fox News. It's a weird demographic.
I cannot say that I've ever turned on any of those channels.
Nah.
CNN, Fox News, any of it.
Andy, next time me and you go to Frank's place, and hopefully that'll be soon, there's always a TV. There's a group of people there who go there and watch Fox News.
The closest thing that I possibly turn on is C-SPAN. I don't know if that even counts.
Ooh, that's so boring. It's so boring, but like you'll learn a lot. It's like
the only thing close to that kind of television that I would turn on.
It's real education. Last time I checked out C-SPAN, it was pretty educational, but it's very dry. It's very boring.
I always like have it on at 3 a.m. and they have some like Clinton debate.
Yeah.
Or something completely random.
Yeah.
It's always a debate from like the 90s.
Yeah, C-SPAN, like a lot of times during the day it shows like Congress when it's in session. It's just a bunch of people like shuffling around in a big room. It's kind of interesting. Next question here comes from good friend of the podcast. Well, everybody that's submitted a question is a good friend, but got to give it to Bobinot here. Haven't heard from him too much lately. He's been working a lot, so shout out to Bobinot. But he asks, will Wentz return before or after week 4 or at week 4? So I guess that's a push option. And second question he asks is, does Winston get his starting job back or does Fitzpatrick keep it? So I'll let you lead off, Andy.
All right. The first question, Wentz coming back week 4, I think would be a really stupid mistake by the Eagles.
Yeah.
If Foles keeps up. He's 8-1 since replacing Carson Wentz. Like, if he's 500 or better, keep Foles in. It'd be stupider to turn Wentz. Like, as I said last week, I mean, I don't want to keep him out till week 12, but the smartest thing is keep him out till week 12. Fully recover from the injury, and hopefully he doesn't re-injure.
Yeah.
It's the smartest thing to do. And if you're not losing football games because he's sitting out, then why rush him? It'd be stupid to rush him. And then Winston getting his job back. Well, after Fitz magic lit up a amazing game against New Orleans. If he gets like there, there's no way Winston's winning that game. So I think he deserves it. Maybe give Winston a half or so to try to get his job back, but if Fitzmagic keeps this trend or anything close, anything within like 10 yards of it, then he's good.
Yeah, I've always been a big believer in stick with the hot hand, So if you have something that's working, you stick with it.
Just like the Eagles. It's the same answer on both sides.
It is kind of interesting. There's a little bit of a parallel there, except, the Eagles are missing their starting quarterback because of something completely out of his control, whereas the Bucs are missing their starting quarterback. If you're watching the YouTube version, I'm making air quotes in a really obnoxious manner. But, they're missing it because of something completely controllable. So, when it comes to Wentz, originally I was of the camp that if Wentz was ready to go week 1, you slide him in week 1 regardless of preparation. Yeah. Andy has changed my mind on that. It's funny how when you talk to somebody else who knows, I really do mean this. I'm not just saying it because we do a podcast together, but Andy knows a lot about the NFL. He knows a lot about football, and he did a lot of research on this particular topic, and he brought up some good points about ACL tear and recovery time, and due to the severity of the injury, he had some good statistics to back it up. And when you talk to someone like that, it can change your mind, and it did change mine. And my thing is with Foles being as good as he has been, even last week where he kind of through a battle of attrition made his way through the Atlanta Falcons, unless they lose the next 2 games, which I don't think they will. I don't think there's any rush to bring Wentz back. And then to the Eagles' credit, I have seen reports as recently as today saying that the Eagles are taking a very conservative approach, and they're much more concerned about Wentz's long-term health than they are about his, as Andy made himself a cocktail and is coughing. He put a Diet Dr. Pepper in a Venom cup, and he tried to low-key pour something in there. I'm thinking it's rum. And you could tell he over-poured because he's coughing. He's coughing. He's a younger man. You'll have to excuse Andy. He's a younger man, so he doesn't know how much he can handle.
Right in the sinuses.
Yeah, he doesn't know the ratios. Anyway, with Wentz, I feel like, they're looking out for his long-term health. So, unless Foles starts really, really stinking it up, I just don't see any reason to rush him back. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Eagles would probably, presumably just say screw it. We're not going to rush the guy back anyway.
Yeah.
I think the coaching staff for the Eagles would rush him back. I think the guys who make the real decisions on that kind of stuff, the medical staff, the ownership, I think the front office, they're going to let him take his time, make sure he's fully back and fully ready. I would, too. He's a big investment. They still paid. How many draft picks did they pay out to get that guy?
3 firsts.
It was a lot.
Doug Peterson, I forgot the direct quote.
Yeah.
But after Carson got hurt, he went in the locker room and he was like, I'm going to really mess this up. And it's a good quote. It's like his son texted him during the game this and inspired the whole team. It was like, one player can make a difference, but the team wins the championship.
It's the truth.
And that's kind of that was their motto in the playoffs, and I think they continue with that.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine. I don't think that Foles. I don't think Foles is equal to Wentz. Okay, in no way. But I think the rest of that team is good enough to where, conceivably, if Wentz didn't play, that's probably a 9-7 team. If Wentz comes back 3/4 of the way through the season, They could easily win 10 or 11 games. So I don't see any reason to rush him back. I don't think that he starts week 4. I think he probably starts after. That would be my answer. Unless, I don't know, maybe he gets cleared this weekend by the medical staff and he starts taking contact drills next week. Then maybe week 4, but I think it's after week 4, just to be honest with you. And as far as Fitzpatrick, I know I've talked about this at length on Twitter, at Dead Channel Duo on Twitter, by the way. But I know I talked about it at length, but I really feel like if Fitzpatrick has 2 more above average games, and by above average, I mean a QBR score of 50 or greater. QBR, not quarterback rating, ESPN QBR. Like if he has a 2 above average games and they win one of the next 2, I don't think Winston starts week 4. I think the Bucs are ready to move on from Winston. I'm not saying that Fitzpatrick is the answer going forward. I think that's a Band-Aid. I think that's a buffer, if you will, right? Just something to piecemeal, whatever you want to call it, right? Something just to get you from one to the next, a bridge, if you will. But I don't think Winston's the future of the Tampa Bay Bucs, and it was illuminating for me to watch what most people would consider to be a backup quarterback come in with the Tampa Bay Bucs and light it up and take better advantage of Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson than Jameis Winston ever has. Deshaun Jackson had a terrible year last year. He wasn't getting targets. He wasn't getting utilized. It was frustrating for him. He considered asking for a trade or his release. It was that bad. Winston couldn't hit him downfield. Fitzpatrick did multiple times last week.
You know, one thing I just realized is completely out of the blue. Speaking of Deshaun Jackson, there hasn't been like anything mentioned about the whole gang-related stuff since he's left Washington.
He has cleaned up his act.
And also speaking, Chris Godwin, he's gonna be a good look next week if Deshaun Watson doesn't play.
I like Godwin. I've been pretty high on the kid. He kind of flew under the radar last year because most people were concentrating on Deshaun Jackson, as they should. Deshaun Jackson is a phenomenal football player. He's a very talented player, and you know, if he keeps playing the way he is, you know, he'd be a fringe Hall of Famer one day. You know, he has great statistics. He's had a great career. But Chris Godwin's a guy that they drafted last year and looked like he could immediately jump in and contribute and eventually slide into that third receiver role and take over for Humphreys. And he has done that. And he looked really good last Sunday, and I think that he'll be a really good asset for him. And, you know, O.J. Howard's another guy they drafted last year who looked really good too.
Roll Tide.
You know, yeah, Roll Tide. I'll say Roll Tide for that as long as he's on the Bucs. So, yeah, I mean, like, overall, you know, Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you look at the game he had, it was a very complete game. He ran the ball as a quarterback effectively. I didn't expect that. But, you know, Ryan Fitzpatrick is kind of quick. He's not fast, but he's quick. Yeah. And he spread the ball. Mike Evans got targets. Deshaun Jackson got targets. Godwin got targets. Humphreys. O.J. Howard. Everybody got targets. With Winston, it's like Evans, and he's forcing it in there, and teams key in on that. And, you know, I just... bad. Winston's got, if he plays this year, if Winston plays this year, he's got to replicate that. He's got to get that ball to a lot of different receivers.
The only thing Tampa Bay couldn't do is run, but who needs to run whenever you make 30-yard touchdowns every play?
Peyton Barber will pick it up, and Ronald Jones will come along, and they'll be fine.
Moving on, we'll talk a little bit more about football later.
Yeah.
Next, you just submitted a question. Gonna change it up completely from Julian. Check him out. His question is, do you know the Muffin Man? Also talk about your favorite childhood toys.
I'll lead off.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Muffin Man is. I know that's a common saying. I don't know what it's a reference to. I have no clue.
childhood,
He
song.
when I talked to Julian last night, he was adamant. He was like, "I want you to make sure you answer both questions." But no, Julian, I don't know the Muffin Man. I know the song, but that's about it. I'm sure there's a deeper meaning to it, but I don't know. Also talk about my favorite childhood toys. So, video game systems, I don't know that those really count. But I will tell you NES, Super NES, well, I'm sorry, NES, Genesis, Super NES, and N64. Those were the systems of my childhood, and that's in order. Childhood toys. When I was really young, I don't know the name of it, but it was a really small. I'm going to call it a computer because it worked on like punch cards. And it looked like a robot, right? So,
A robot?
yeah, and what you did is you put different punch cards in it and it did different things. And it had like different little mini games and things like that, and it was electronic, and it was like really like a big deal for me as a kid. Obviously I had another thing that I really liked as a kid was I had a bicycle. I know that sounds so basic, but
Yeah.
I mean, I probably had hundreds of miles on 3 bikes that I had as a kid. I had one bike, I grew out of it, I got another bike, it wore out, and then I got one more bike as a kid. And that bike actually lasted me until I was in high school. So I would say my bike, because like when I was a kid, it was all about riding your bike around the neighborhood. And then I guess the third toy that I would give you would be a very basic one, a football. Because a lot of us would ride around the neighborhood with a football, and then we would play tackle football with one. I know that sounds crazy with no pads, but we were idiot kids that would play tackle. We would play tackle football against each other.
Well, we played a funner game.
3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, however many kids from the neighborhood we could get together, we would get them together, and there was this little it was like the neighborhood I lived in, there was an empty lot of land that they never built a house on because the lot of land was like too small to build a house on, right? So it kind of just like existed, and we would just kind of play football on that grass. So I would say the robot computer, my bike, and the football.
I don't know. I had a lot of WWE toys, action figures.
Yeah.
I don't know. I played baseball a lot, like with a T. And then with football, we played tackle, but we didn't play actual games. We played to keep this clean. I'll call it smear the derogatory term. Insert there, which is basically throw the football straight in the air with like 20 people playing, and everyone's just trying to tackle each other.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, we had games like that. Did you ever play this one game? I don't know what they called it. It was like 500, right? Where one person would throw the football up in the air and there'd be a group of people and they would call out a number. And the idea of the game was to get a score better than 500. Yeah. And it was like the same premise where like when that ball was up in the air, it was every man for himself. So whoever came down with that football got the point total. So it'd be like either 1 or 500 or 100 or 200 and whatever. And you try to add up. But like when I was a kid, man, toys were like, I don't really have toys. Like I played baseball, I played basketball, I played football.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a bike, I had a set of rollerblades. I guess that counts.
Like I don't know. I just played video games or played sports. I didn't really play toys.
Yeah, when I went outside, it was a lot of.
I do know. I got really intense to recreating matches with my WWE figures, or like making out scenarios.
Did you have the ring?
Yeah. I like a TNA ring. I had like the Hell in the Cell.
Yeah.
Steel cage. I like all the stuff. I had my own like little like what's that mode in 2K? The one where you play out. It's like a franchise mode, but like I had my own with action figures and I ran it out. And like basically Jeff Hardy had all the titles all the time.
Yeah, I had a lot of action figures. So I had a lot of the old 80s, early 90s WWE action figures. Had a good amount of the GI Joes, like the 80s and 90s versions, like with the karate chop action. You know, like the little tiny ones. They were like maybe I think like 5 or 6 inches tall, right? And they had the little rubber bands in them that where you could do like a karate chop. I had those. Used to play with those a lot. Ninja Turtle toys. When I was in middle school, my prized possession was the Optimus Prime Beast Wars toy. I got it at Toys R Us for $20, and it was like awesome. It turned into the gorilla, and then you could turn it into Optimus Prime. It was from Beast Wars, and I watched a documentary on Netflix. Really good documentary series. Highly recommend checking it out if you haven't already. It's called The Toys That Made Us. They cover all kinds of things, and when they covered Transformers, I was like, oh man, Transformers. I remember playing with those, but like I was more into Beast Wars. I had a bunch of the Beast Wars ones, but my favorite one was the Optimus Prime one. And I remember I was trying to find, and I couldn't find one. I was trying to find someone who had that original Optimus Prime, and I was going to buy it. And then Ashley found my search history, and she called me a nerd, and it made me sad. But, yeah.
I really thought there's something similar, but they're easier to find. Nerf guns.
Oh,
Around
yeah.
my middle school era, I got really into modifying Nerf guns, which
What?
sounds ridiculous, but like you throw in like a new spring, get those shoot like
That's cool.
like you shoot like 60 FPS, like you get those with power. I would there was like a revolver,
Mm-hmm.
and my favorite gun is the Nerf long shot, which is like the kind of like the beast. They're like $100 on eBay now. They don't make them anymore, but you could like there's like a fake bipod on it
Mm-hmm.
that I'd saw it off and then cut the handle off the Magnum and slapped it on right there. So it's like a underbarrel like little shotgun. Oh, dude, that was fun.
It sounds pretty cool. I had a couple Nerf guns as a kid. They were a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah, and I'd spray paint them and stuff.
You know, I see the ones they have now, and they're just totally badass by comparison.
They kind
Well, they probably
of.
pale in comparison to the modders out there, but
Oh yeah, the best like Nerf gun. I forgot what they're called, but it's really just like a gas tank hooked up to a PCP pipe, and you just launch. I forget what there's a modified Nerf darts that we used to do too. I forgot what they're called too. We rip the rubber head off, you put a washer on it, and then hot glue, so it kind of stings when you get hit by them.
it's pretty awesome.
So
That sounds like
we
something I totally would have loved as a kid if I was exposed to it.
so we had some fun modding Nerf guns.
Yeah. But thank you, Julian, for the question. It's kind of fun to think about old toys. And like the more I thought about it, the more I came up with other ones that I loved. We have one more listener question. It comes from Alpha Mega Zulu.
2 more.
Okay, well I'm missing one, so we'll go into Alpha Mega Zulu's first. Shout out to him at Alpha Mega Zulu on Twitter. He asked, with all these YouTubers boxing each other these days, who would win in a boxing match between you two, Andy or Alex? So I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I'm a pretty good fighter. I think I could hold my own. But if we're talking strictly boxing, okay? Because I have a wrestling background.
Yeah.
So if it was MMA style, I feel like I'd have a better chance here. Andy has a considerable reach advantage on me because he's much taller.
I feel like
So-
I also have a stamina advantage.
Quite
I don't know.
possibly.
I don't know, like we haven't tested this out,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I have a stamina advantage and just the sheer size advantage.
Probably.
So in boxing, I think I take it.
I don't know.
But I feel like we're both walking away damaged.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. I've never come away from a fight in my life, and I've been in a lot of fist fights, okay? Never a boxing match, but I've been in a lot of fist fights. Never came away from one going, man, I got my ass kicked. Never happened, right?
I've been in one fight, and the only thing that's ever happened to me is I have a scar on my hand
Yeah.
because he had earrings, and
Yeah.
I cut my hand punching him.
See, I started a
So,
fist fight one time. This guy came at me, knocked him off his feet, and then I put him in a chokehold and I choked the guy out. So, like, I've been in a lot of fights like that. I've also been in a lot of fist fights where, like, both me and the person I was fighting were actively punching each other and then it got separated.
yeah.
Which at that point, you're like, I don't know who won. Like, I got some blows in, he got some blows. Don't get me wrong, I've taken my share of punches, okay? I don't know. I feel like it would be a good one, but boy, I wonder if you ever come down here, man, maybe we could make it happen. You think we could find somebody who just let us box?
Yeah, in Florida. Find out where Kimbo used to fight.
Like, just find somebody who will let us sign a waiver. Like a hold harmless agreement.
I mean, we could find some gym we could spar.
That's fine. That's fine. I could get a good camera. We could videotape it and find out. I don't know. I feel like both of us would get to that point where like let's just call it a draw.
By the time I get there, my car will break down anyways.
Which by the way, if we just fought for a bunch of rounds and then eventually just called it a draw, it wouldn't be any different than the YouTubers doing it, right?
I mean, I guess.
And we'll be like, oh, well, we're going to do another fight next year. Yeah. Who wants to pay $10 to see me and Andy bludgeon each other with boxing gloves? Let us know.
Last question.
Okay.
From Bobby. The Bobby Clark.
Oh, that's right. I almost missed his. That was my favorite question this week.
Hey, Andy. What class are you going to play in World of Warcraft?
It's not a question for me, so I'll let you lead off.
So, I had to Google the classes. I had to Google them a long time ago, so I thought it was going to be one of the first ones you're going to ask me.
Yeah.
And just based off the pictures, not reading anything, based off the preview picture, I'm going to go with Monk,
Yeah.
which I think is a class.
Okay. It is.
I don't know. That's my answer.
Yeah, I think, initially your first character, mage might be a good one.
No, Monk.
Warrior. Well, monk might not be bad. I don't know.
Monk or warrior, and name him after my Skyrim character, Bruce the Orcman Lee.
See, a lot of people told me that warrior was the class to start off with. And I didn't think that would be the class to start off with, but a lot of people have told me that it's a good experience. So, I don't know, Andy. I think I think you just need to jump in, man.
Nah.
Jump in. I like the mage character. Mage is my thing because I like the whole casting damage spells. That's my gig. But don't be a priest. Don't be a. In a lot of other games, they'll say like white mage, and white mage basically means you heal. That's a tough job. Healing's tough. Finding a good healer is tough, but yeah, man, looking forward to that World of Warcraft series. It's coming. I'm sure of it.
It's gonna be one long video.
No, come on, man, just do it
One
right. People will
3-hour
love
video.
it.
No.
People will love it. It'll be amazing.
It'll be on my 4th channel.
Okay, well, thank you, Bobby, for the question. It was my favorite question this week, and there were a lot of good ones. But anything World of Warcraft definitely gets the gold star, the swordfish seal of approval.
Gonna throw this in because it's a little shorthand thing that we're not gonna talk about that much.
Yeah.
Should have brought it in with boxing.
Mhm.
Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till. Tyron
Yeah.
Woodley won.
Mhm.
So he's champion. He's a beast. Gotta love it.
Yep.
Oh, we're trying to stay PG, but the big fight is after this. Everyone's thinking Tyron Woodley's gonna fight Colby Covington,
Mhm.
and Tyron Woodley's fighting this guy. His name is Steven Wonderboy Thompson. He's fought him twice. Sorry, my webcam's out of focus.
No, I just like doing it.
Steven Thompson, he tweeted. Why is it so out of focus?
Am I drunk?
Steven Thompson was like, "Can we get Woodley versus Thompson 3?" And Colby Covington said, "Shut the F up. You are a V." And I just thought it was pretty funny.
I mean, it is pretty insulting. But I will say this. Betty White famously made a joke out of it. Calling somebody a V isn't really
we're
that.
about different V's, I think.
Uh,
I'm talking about the not performing V. Never performing. I mean, I guess it's not like a bad word, virgin.
oh. Ouch.
Yeah, he just said, "Shut the f up, you virgin."
I thought you were talking about a form of human, female anatomy, and I was going to say, well, those take a pounding and keep on going generally. So
But they're
it's not
also
such
both
an
not
insult.
bad, so I don't know why I censored it.
It's fine. It's fine. We're considered to be family friendly on iTunes, so
I don't know what.
Let's keep it that way.
See, I don't know what.
They just don't want like vulgar stuff, and I don't think we've done that. The other V word, vulgar. So we got through listener questions, and thank you for submitting all those. Response was overwhelming this week. We'll try to do a better job of asking on Twitter for those each week. That's my bad. So first topic here. I just want to switch gears here. We've talked a lot about NFL. We'll get back to that in a minute. I just kind of wanted to pick your brain on this, Andy. See what you think about it. Both from a monetary and business standpoint and also from an entertainment standpoint. So the new Venom movie coming out from Sony. Okay, so this is a Sony property. It's definitely not a Marvel Studios property. Yes, he's got the cup. It's actually a really nice looking cup. It's come out that this is going to be PG-13. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a good move, bad move?
Trash. Yeah.
Why?
I earlier in the year I made this comparison. Venom's gonna be very similar to the movie Upgrade before they even came out. Upgrade, by the way, it super surprised me, but they're gonna be very similar. And like even back then I thought Upgrade was gonna be a better movie. And then the PG-13, it's just gonna be so like, it's gonna be held back by trying to fit into that PG-13 little. Which, like, you can't be scared by the R rating because you saw a movie like Logan succeed in the R rating. I mean, it's not gonna be good. I don't know. On paper, it just doesn't seem it's gonna be good.
I mean, my take on it is financially it's the right move. We've known, I know since I was a teenager, movie studios have, they strive to hit that PG-13 rating, and there's even been accusations out there that certain movie studios will kind of like bribe or coerce these ratings authorities to try and get certain ratings. Because like
projected at 55 to 65 million opening, so
I think Venom's gonna do okay. I think it's gonna do okay. I don't think it's gonna do great. I don't think it'll exceed expectations.
Hot take, Andy. It's gonna be just like Infinity War. It'll be popular, but not good.
That's kind of where I'm falling on it. I still have hope for Venom, and here's why. It's got Tom Hardy, and Tom Hardy was great as Bane, and Tom Hardy was also great in Star Trek Nemesis. And I know that
Dunkirk.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like Star Trek Nemesis. I thought Tom Hardy was one of the better parts of that movie. I know a lot of people didn't like the last Batman movie of the Nolan trilogy, or at least as much as the first two. I thought Bane was one of the bright spots of that movie. I thought all of the stuff with
it's hard to top.
What the hell is the guy's name that was in Third Rock from the Sun and Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah. I hated all that crap with him. Okay, I didn't like it. It felt rushed. Okay, if they had built that up over the course of 2 movies or whatever, I'd be like, okay, fine. But I hate that it felt so rushed. But I thought Bane as a character really worked in that movie, and I thought Tom Hardy was a good part of why that worked.
I mean, it's hard to top, a historic performance in The Dark Knight.
Well, anybody following that would have had a hard time.
Yeah.
Because I thought that when Heath Ledger got cast as Joker, I said to myself, he'll make it work, right? I didn't hate the casting because I felt like Heath Ledger had a good amount of range as an actor. And I say that as someone who, I know a lot of people were like, oh, Brokeback Joker, because he just did like Brokeback Mountain, and a lot of people had issues with that movie because, quite honestly, a lot of people, I hate saying this because I'm not a SJW or anything, but a lot of people are really homophobic. But Brokeback Mountain is a great novel, and it was a great movie, and I thought that Heath Ledger's performance in it was exceptional, and I thought Jake Gyllenhaal's performance in that movie was also equally exceptional. I'm trying to think of the girl who was in that movie as a supporting actress. And she did like the Princess Diary movies, and I can't think of her name right now. Yeah, she was also terrific in that movie. I mean, just really great acting performance from many actors. It was a great movie. So I sat there and I said, man, this could work. Like, he could kill it as a Joker. I didn't think he would be better than Jack Nicholson as far as a movie style Joker, and he exceeded my expectation. He killed it.
Yeah,
Killed it. Yeah, so like anybody following that is tough, but I thought Tom Hardy killed it as Bane. People remember that character. They will always remember that character. There was a Bane character in Batman and Robin. Nobody remembers that. But they'll remember Tom Hardy's Bane. And people remember Tom Hardy as young Picard in Star Trek Nemesis. That's probably one of the only redeeming qualities of that movie. And I love Star Trek, by the way. But nevertheless, I feel like it'll be a good movie, but I think that it's just a money move. I wish it could be rated R because oh Jesus. I want the Venom movie, and I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna go in with an open mind, but I want it to be raw. I want it to be gritty. I want it to be a little dark, and I'm scared that it's not rated R. Because Venom is a dark character. There's not a lot of substance to the Venom character, by the way. Right? It's not a very deep character. There's no
Spider-Man.
There's no Spider-Man. I get that. But, my thing is, there's not a lot of substance to the Venom character to begin with. But the one thing that always stands out is he's very dark and selfish. And he just does whatever he wants to do. He does everything to suit himself. And, I don't know if we're going to get that if it's not rated R, but I don't know. I'll still see it. I'll still try it out.
Speaking of superheroes.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill doesn't want to be Superman anymore, apparently.
I don't believe that.
Henry Cavill, Hellraiser alumni. Gotta throw it in there.
Ooh, man.
He's in one of the okay ones of the Hellraiser films.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the DCU isn't really going anywhere anyway, so. And Ben Affleck apparently wants out too, so.
See, but they always keep reporting that. That's the thing. I don't know. Maybe I have my finger on the pulse more than I think I do, just because of a good friend of mine. Could be, but a good friend of mine, Daniel, he has a podcast, thereasonsimbroke.com. You can check it out there. It's an awesome podcast. It's definitely my favorite. Listen to it every week. But he always talks about a lot of these news sites will report stuff like Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. I guess she hasn't been Wonder Woman long enough. Oh God, I always forget her name.
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot. Yeah. By the way, she's awesome as Wonder Woman. Yeah, I love her as Wonder Woman. She did a great job with that. But you know, I guess she hasn't been that long enough for them to start saying like, oh, she doesn't want to do Wonder Woman anymore. But they've been saying like Ben Affleck wants to get out of the Batman thing for ages, and he's had to come out publicly and dispel that. And apparently Henry Cavill had to do that recently. And then also, I gotta say, man, I would be really sad because I feel like Henry Cavill. I don't know. I'm a Superman fan. I read the comics as a young boy. I've always liked the movies. I like Superman Returns. I know most people don't. I did. I would be really sad to see Henry Cavill leave because I feel like out of Christopher Reeve and the fella who was Superman in Superman Returns, whose name escapes me at the moment, and Henry Cavill, I feel like he nailed the look of Superman to me. The suit was on point. He looked like Superman, sans mustache, but like I mean, he looked like Superman to me, and he did a good. Man of Steel was a great movie in my opinion. It was probably one of the better Superman movies, maybe the best.
You ever watch Superman 3 with Richard Pryor?
A long time ago.
It's not like it's pretty bad.
I mean, I don't think it holds up, but I think Man of Steel will. And I'd hate to see him go. And then sites were reporting completely ridiculous stuff like, oh, they're thinking about Michael B. Jordan as a Superman replacement. That's
completely changing up the whole script.
I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. Get out of here with that nonsense. That's silly. That's silly. But I hope he stays on because I think that he makes for a good Superman. Let's move on to our next topic here.
A hidden topic that you didn't tell me what it was.
Oh, we're going to hidden topic. Oh, sweet. Okay, so I recently found myself in a little bit of a debate with some good friends. The Lazy Gaming guys. You could check them out. Just type in.
Giving shots to everybody.
Well, just trying to help people out. Just type in Lazy Gaming Guys on YouTube, all one word. You'll find their channel. But yeah, like they were talking about the recent influx of casual Pokemon games like Pokemon Go. And some of them had the attitude that it was watering down, that the Pokemon company would be watering down the traditional Pokemon games like Pokemon X and Y and Pokemon Sun and Moon and Pokemon Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun, right? So like the traditional style Pokemon games.
Yeah.
They're worried that all of this influx of casual games will cause them to try to appeal to those same casual players and water down the traditional games. How do you feel about that? Do you think it affects it at all?
Which game? Let's Go Eevee or Let's Go Pikachu,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. That was actually what
Super
spurred the
watered
comment.
down.
Yeah.
Because you can trade your Pokemon Go Pokemon to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you also, like, I'm pretty sure you start off with Mew if you pre-order it. But I'm also pretty sure they also have in the books like an RPG style game that's supposed to come out next year on the Switch. It's supposed to be like the biggest RPG game ever. So I mean, I feel like they're not gonna go like the Pokemon fan base is huge. Everyone grew up with it. I feel like maybe they'll go like, you know, watered down version like they did have the Pokemon Ranger games stuff.
Yeah.
Never played them, but I guess that, you know, that's their new, like, the watered down versions, like the Pokemon Rangers games, little side games that come out with the RPGs as well.
So I've heard that the Pokemon Ranger games were not easy. I've heard that those were pretty tough.
Oh, I never played them.
Yeah. So to me,
but, like, it's still like, you know,
I've always, I guess, and you can correct me because you're more of a Pokemon fan than I am, okay? So I feel like my wife is a good example of someone who Pokemon is attempting to appeal to, right? So my wife watched the cartoon as a kid.
Yeah.
Dabbled in the games, okay? Very lightly dabbled in the games. But then Pokemon Go came out, and she wanted to play it. So she did, and we did. She was better at it than I was. She got she's to this day, she's got more stuff than I do in Pokemon Go. She's way more invested in it.
My friend's super into it that I work with.
Yeah.
And there was like a Ho-Oh event.
Yeah.
And he has a shiny Ho-Oh and like 6 others.
Yeah. You play Pokemon Go, don't you? Dabble in it. You're a liar. I saw you open the app when you were down here.
My highest CP thing is 300. So
okay, well,
that tells you how much I played.
At least you dabble in it. My point is my wife is a good example of the casual games working to Pokemon's advantage, right? She got into Pokemon Go. She wanted to get a 3DS. The main reason she wanted to get a 3DS is because I told her Pokemon Go is cool, but the traditional Pokemon games have so much more depth, right?
Yeah.
She goes, I want a 3DS. So we bought her a 3DS. First game we bought, Pokemon Ultra Sun. She loves it. She stopped playing Pokemon Go as much, believe it or not.
Yeah.
She plays that. She plays that way more than Pokemon Go. And that's saying a lot because she used to play Pokemon Go every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Pokemon is converting casual consumers to the traditional Pokemon lineup. Now, I don't think Ultra Sun watered itself down at all for Pokemon Go players.
I mean, there's some XP share. It's easier than the other games.
Okay, so it's a little bit easier, but at the end of the day, it's still the same core game.
Like traditionally, in my heart, like Gen 4 pre, even like Gen, I think 7 before.
What game would that equate to?
X and Y. I think it started X and Y.
Okay, X
so
and
Black
Y.
and White 2 is last game.
Okay.
Where XP, this completely watered down the whole thing. Where you used to, an XP share was kind of hard to get, and you put it on one Pokemon, and that's it. In X and Y, it's X and Y or Sun and Moon. They hand it to you at the very beginning of the game, and the entire party gets it. So basically, everyone levels up together.
Okay.
It's like kind of watered down.
Okay, well, I get that, but my point in all of it is it's still the same core game. I don't feel like they're... I guess the argument that I was trying to make, and it probably got lost in translation because I was interacting with them via chat, and there were people in chat that were interacting with me and everything, is like, I don't feel like Pokemon's severely handicapping.
I mean, I feel like they're bigger than ever right now, though.
Well, they
Pokemon
are,
Go.
and I mean, like, you know,
Brought in a lot of fans.
I played Ultra Sun on my wife's 3DS, and I really liked it. And that's someone who hasn't played a Pokemon game since Pokemon Red, the original on the Game Boy. And I thought it was good. I thought it was a modernized version of Pokemon. I didn't play it and go, oh my goodness, this is like way too simplified, or this is appealing way too much to casual. I was a little bit overwhelmed by some of the stuff.
Pokemon Red is really simple.
It is.
Compared to other ones.
Well, like, let's just be honest. This isn't Dark Souls. Pokemon isn't Dark Souls, and it isn't meant to be. It's still, like, just to be completely real out there. I know I'm going to get a little flack for this, but it's a child's game. Its target audience is children. Let's just be real.
I watched a video, by the way, of a guy attempting to beat Pokemon Red with only Magikarp. The only accepting rule is he can have side Pokemon to, like, learn cut and stuff.
I did see that video, but I didn't watch it.
He got super far in the game.
Yeah.
And then there's a point to where you actually can't get past it without having anything else.
So, I mean, that's kind of my point, though, Andy, is like, these weren't incredibly complex strategy games to begin with. These weren't even incredibly complex art. Because to me, I always looked at Pokemon as an RPG. Yeah, it's a turn-based RPG. And it's not even as complicated as a Final Fantasy turn-based RPG was.
I mean, it can get complicated if you play competitively.
It can if you're playing competitively. Yes, I agree with you there. But if you're just playing the core game, it's pretty simple. It's meant so that literally, you know, the 12-year-old Alex beat the game without internet, without a strategy guide.
It happens.
Beat the game. My brother was 9, and he beat the game no strategy guide, no internet. A little
I was
bit
like
of word of
6 and
mouth
I
stuff.
put Power Rangers.
So I mean, the casual games, I think they're good. I encourage Pokemon to keep making them because if it brings people in, and here's the thing: Pokemon's always had casual style games. They had Pokemon Coliseum on N64. That was a casual game. You could just play with whatever Pokemon
Gale
you
of
wanted.
Darkness.
Yeah, they had Gale of Darkness. They even had weird stuff like Pokemon Channel,
Pokemon Stadium.
just to bring
Snap.
people into the ecosystem.
You ever play Snap?
Yeah, I like that game. It's cool. It's just a
thought
cool
about
game.
something. Speaking of children beating games, do you ever have a game that you know for a fact you beat as a child, but went back to later on and was like, I don't know how I beat this game
Yes.
at all?
Yes. Happens all the time with Super Nintendo games. Happens all the time with Super Nintendo games. Hell, even Super Mario 3,
That's the
I can still
that's the play one.
yeah, I can still beat that game, but not as easily as when I was a kid. Super Mario 1, again, I will tell you I can still beat it, but not as easily as when I was a kid. Battletoads, I can't get as far in Battletoads as I could when I was a kid. Because back then you played it so much, you kind of memorized everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So like even Sonic the Hedgehog, dude. When I go back and I play Sonic games from the Genesis era, I have to reteach myself how to play the game.
I would say 8-year-old me
Mm-hmm.
would destroy me in SmackDown Here Comes the Pain.
Oh, dude, wrestling games don't even get me started. I had all that stuff memorized. It was like when I play Madden now, like I have all it's coming in muscle memory.
Good competition would be that version of me, or whenever I played WWE 12, because I played through the story mode in that game accidentally on the hardest difficulty and never realized it.
That was a great game.
Like I went through and I did all the side quests too because I wanted to like completely beat the game. I completely beat the game on the hardest difficulty without even realizing it.
Yeah, man. I don't think I'd be as good at old wrestling games either. And I was a connoisseur of them.
Speaking of old games,
Yeah.
do you have anything with Switch releasing the wireless NES controllers and coming out?
I just want to
controllers?
say, like, who asked for this? It had to have been people who didn't own an NES to begin with. I loved the NES. I owned one. Okay. It was my favorite console as a kid because it was my first console as a kid. So yeah, of course I loved it. But those controllers hurt. They were not ergonomic.
I mean,
they were square. Why?
It gives us hopes for 64 controllers.
I would be okay with that. I think the most encouraging thing is they're bringing out GameCube controllers for Smash.
By the way, GameCube
and I want
controllers,
those.
top 3 controller all time, in my opinion.
It's up there, but I'll tell you one controller that's really good before we move on to our next topic after you say your 2 cents. It'd be more than 2 cents because your opinion's worth more than that, Andy. I value you more than that. But the Switch Pro controller, I know it's expensive as hell. It might be my favorite controller ever made by Nintendo. And I'd put it right above, and I mean this is the highest praise possible. I put it right above the Wavebird. The Nintendo Wavebird on the GameCube, which I thought was the perfect controller. The Switch Pro controller, I bought one.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's amazing. It's better than an Xbox One controller. And I love the Xbox One controller.
Xbox One controller is the best of all time, in my opinion.
No.
The 360 controller was dominant.
Yeah.
But the Xbox One controller is awesome.
I love the Xbox One controller. But that Switch Pro controller, top notch. They killed it. So what do you think about NES controllers? I think it's just a money-making thing.
I mean, I think it's like, kind of, they're going to eventually, they may have, do they have SNES controllers? Maybe, maybe not. They'll come out with 64 controllers.
Oh,
Like,
I'm
they're
sure
all
they'll
gonna
come out with SNES controllers. I bought a couple wireless USB
SNES
SNES
is
controllers, by the
completely
way.
superior to NES controllers.
Well, I recently bought a couple wireless SNES USB controllers for the SNES Mini that I got.
Yeah.
They were $24.99 a piece, and they're amazing. I love
SNES
them.
controller is awesome.
2-Bit Dough is the name of the company that makes them, and they are outstanding. They're $24.99 a piece. But anyway, yeah.
All right. Our one of the last things, or two, we have two more things before we get into sports, heavy sports talk.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Blackout Beta is coming out.
Is it coming out
Looks
to
Coming
Xbox
out
One?
on Xbox today, or for people listening to this podcast a couple days ago.
Wait, what?
Today, as in like the current today, Friday, comes out at 10 a.m. today. So,
Interesting.
yeah, it looks super good. PS4 beta. Looking to grind that and have fun. Probably have some videos, maybe. I don't know. I've been pretty lackluster on videos on my channel. I'll definitely be streaming it or something. But Blackout beta, it looks fun. And by the way, have you seen the Twitch numbers on it?
No, but I'm assuming they're massive.
Fortnite,
They have to be.
97,000.
Yeah.
Blackout, 225,000.
Wait, when you say Blackout, is that different than Black Ops?
It's Black Ops 4.
Oh, okay.
But the only thing is the beta is only Blackout. So
What's Blackout?
it's their Battle Royale mode.
I'll play that. I'll play it just to get an idea of whether I want to
Oh,
buy.
it looks super different.
Wait,
It
so
looks super fun.
You're more of a Call of Duty fella than I am. Do I have to pre-order the game, or is it just open to play?
Pre-order.
Oh, I'll have to fight. I'll have to figure out how to get a code somehow, some
You have to
way.
pre-order.
Huh?
You have to pre-order.
Well,
Sadly.
I mean, can I just walk in the store tomorrow and do it?
Digital pre-order.
Digital pre-order. Oh, boo. Well, then never mind. I won't get it. Oh, well. Well, let me know how it is, Andy.
I mean, you'll watch me stream it probably because
Okay.
you're probably the only person who watches me stream.
No, don't be like that now.
Our next thing, I would consider it sport, but most people want it. WWE. There's a big upcoming event this week. Hell in the Cell.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're super hyped for it. You're the WWE guy, the DCDWE certified fan.
It's a good
So,
card.
Gonna give some predictions to the card.
Okay.
I'm trying to pull up the card right now. Can't get a good website that will pull it up in like one.
Well,
good
I'll
line.
quickly go over it. So,
I got it.
Okay.
I think. All right, first match we got SmackDown Tag Champions, The New Day versus Rusev and Aiden English.
yeah.
I will say I've never heard of Aiden English, so I'm gonna go with The New Day.
Yeah. So, should be a good match. New Day always put on a good show. They have really good matches. They're really entertaining on the mic, but they're going to be in the ring with Rusev and Aiden English, two guys that can really work, along with New Day, who can also work. Aiden English was one half of the Vaudevillains. I don't know if you remember the Vaudevillains. They didn't have a huge run on the main roster because
Was he the one with the curly mustache?
yeah, Simon Gotch, he was the one with the curly mustache, and he got released. But Aiden English is the other guy, and really,
Oh, I know.
yeah, Rusev and him have a really good tag team going, but they've kind of been playing towards a split. I think the New Day will probably go over in this one, but I think it'll be a good match, and I really feel like that may be the match that opens the show, just to get like people going. It might be a pre-show match, unfortunately. So the next match is the one that I think will actually open the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That won't be on the pre-show. And this is another one that I will tell you could steal the show, and that's Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre against Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose for the Raw Tag Team titles. Now, my personal opinion is Ziggler and McIntyre will go over on this one, due to some kind of a run-in or some kind of, douchebaggery, whatever you want to call it, setting up a rematch where maybe Rollins puts his Intercontinental title on the line as well, because they kind of rushed putting that tag title on Ziggler and McIntyre. And I think what they're really building towards, and I guess we'll talk about it a little bit more, I think what they're really building towards is some kind of a scenario where there's a pay-per-view where the Intercontinental tag titles and Universal Championship on Raw are all on the line between the 3 Shield members and this new alliance that's been formed between Strowman, Ziggler, and McIntyre. I think, though, it will be one of the best matches to watch during the pay-per-view, unlike the next pay-per-view match that we're going to talk about, which I think is going to be a snooze fest. Because Ziggler, McIntyre, Rollins, and Ambrose can all work big matches, put out a 20-minute match in a one-on-one scenario. Now that they're all in the ring together, it's going to be a hell of a match. I'd open the show with that. The crowd will be really hot. And then I would go into my worst match after that, which is this next one, which is, well, I'll let you make your prediction first, Andy, before we get into this next trash can match.
Yeah, I go Ziggler, McIntyre.
Yeah.
Am I tripping? Drew McIntyre, was he? Oh my God, I'm completely blanking.
He was in 3-man band, if that's what you're thinking of. And then he was in 3-man band in WWE. He had a little bit of a run by himself. He got released when he was in 3-man band with Heath Slater and Jinder.
Someone else, which is I'm getting confused with Paul London for some reason.
Ooh. No, Drew McIntyre is much better than Paul London. Sorry, Paul London, but Drew McIntyre is amazing. Drew McIntyre is a good example of a guy who was in WWE, got released, went to the Indies, went to TNA, worked on his look, worked on his mic skills, worked on his ring skills, and went from a guy who had good size and was maybe a B- in those other areas, and now he's great. He's got a great look. He's good in the ring.
I really enjoyed his tag team with Brian Kendrick back in the day.
Who, Paul London?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
yeah, I'll go with Dolph. For some reason, I never really liked Dolph.
I'm not really a big fan of Dolph Ziggler, but I will say this: he always puts on a good match.
All right. We get to the next one. We have a Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella versus The Miz and Maurice. I would agree that's probably the worst one.
If it was Daniel Bryan versus Miz, it would be a good match, and I think they had
Is this his first fight back, or
no? It's not his first fight back.
All right.
And him and Miz wrestled at SummerSlam, and they had a really good match.
Yeah.
And you could tell they were kind of building towards this, but here's my issue with it, and I know I'll get a little flack for this, but I'm just gonna say it. If it was Daniel Bryan versus Miz, it would be a great match.
Yeah.
But Brie Bella can't work. And Brie Bella is about as interesting as a cardboard box. And Maurice can't work and is also about as interesting as a cardboard box. They're also very beautiful women, and that's great. And they are athletic, and congratulations to them for being able to work at all. But they've never put on
divas.
Yeah, they've never put on a great match.
Okay, looks, not show.
Yeah, Brie Bella tried to do 2 suicide dives on last week's Raw and failed on both, and in one of them took a nosedive, and I was concerned for her well-being. Like, I don't think, I get it. This match is going to set up the next Daniel Bryan versus Miz match. It's a long-term deal, but I don't think it's going to be a good one. I think Miz and Maurice go over, setting up a Daniel Bryan versus Miz matchup where he eventually goes over. But I think this will be a very long-term feud. If I were WWE, what I would...
The New Day?
Wait, what?
Did we agree on the New Day?
I think so.
Because if so, this is 3 in a row.
Well, it's wrestling. You kind of know what's going to
Yeah,
happen. So, I mean, like, for me, I feel like Miz and Maurice win, right? They do something to get one over on Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. Adds more, you let the heat simmer, right? And this is a long-term play. Honestly, what I think they should do, if I was booking this, I would have Miz eventually go on and win the Royal Rumble, and somehow Daniel Bryan wins the WWE Championship, setting up a WrestleMania match between these two. I think that's that's the precipice. That's where the money is, if I had to say it. But I think Miz and Maurice go over here just to add more heat.
We have the SmackDown's Women's Champion, Charlotte
Speaking
Flair.
of heat. Speaking of heat, this has been a great rivalry. I like what they did with this. Yeah, they did a great job with this. They had Becky Lynch set up. Everybody thought she was going to win the women's championship on the last pay-per-view. They put Charlotte Flair in last minute. Charlotte Flair ends up winning it. Becky Lynch turns heel. It's a great heel turn. Crowd loved it. They ate it up. They've been building the heat for this match every SmackDown in a very masterful way. Becky Lynch keeps beating the hell out of Charlotte Flair. It's great. Crowd's loving it. Everybody's into it. I think Becky Lynch has to win on Sunday. She has to win. And again, it would be, I would characterize this like the Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella Miz Maurice match, is to set up a longer term feud.
Yeah.
But I think Becky Lynch has to win on Sunday. I think that's the right way to go. And it's good. I think they're gonna make some money on this feud.
You know, I'm changing up. I'm gonna go with Charlotte. Even though from what I watch, she's kind of boring.
It's
Whenever
fair.
I watch.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's the white meat babyface. She's playing the babyface role. Honestly, Charlotte Flair's a better heel. But they have her playing a babyface right now, and it's.
Yeah.
When she's a babyface, it's very like white meat, just pandering to the crowd type stuff. This next match is a really interesting one. They've been building up to this one for a while. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. I think this should be a great match. Both of these guys, even at they're a little bit older, right? But they have both shown a very good ability to put on a great match. Honestly, I think Orton goes over here to set up another match. I think that this is
It's
not
all set up.
What?
It's all set up.
It's all storytelling. This is the first time these two guys have gotten in the ring since Hardy came back. So I think Orton goes over and it sets Hardy up for another match. But Jeff Hardy's going to do something stupid in that Hell in a Cell match, and it's going to be awesome. And it's going to overshadow the fact that he loses.
I think he does something stupid and wins.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's fine, too.
Maybe
maybe Randy Orton
then
then goes...
off the top.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. I didn't think the Hardys were going to win the tag titles when they came back at WrestleMania. And I was there to witness that in the Citrus Bowl there in Orlando. Greatest moment I've ever been a part of in a wrestling show.
You watched Gronk?
What?
You watched Gronk?
Don't care about that. Okay, moving on to the next one. This one should also be a good match just because they've done a good build on this one. Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. I think Rousey goes over. Just because I think they want Rousey to move on and start working with some of the other women on the roster. And I think it'll also be good for Alexa Bliss to kind of go do her own thing as they prepare for the October pay-per-view where she's going to face Trish Stratus, which most WWE fans would consider to be a dream match. I'm one of those people. I think that's going to be a great match. Alexa Bliss is top-notch in the ring. I think she loses here and it allows her to move on. It also allows Rousey to move on as well. But it should be a good match.
Let her win.
Yeah, I mean, they have so much invested in her. She's going to have that title for a very long time. But to her credit, a lot of people have compared her to Brock Lesnar, but she's on Raw every week, and you can't take anything away from her for that. So,
WWE Champion AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe.
Oh, this is gonna be a good
Getting
one.
back to TNA.
I love it. They had a great match at SummerSlam. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, Andy, but it was a really good one. They did a great job of building it to where they were going to have a match with a real outcome at the next pay-per-view. If I were WWE, I would have put this in a cell. I would have made this a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
I know that they're careful to not have too many Hell in a Cell matches, even though the pay-per-view is called Hell in a Cell. I get it. You want to keep it special. But considering the last match ended with AJ Styles beating the hell out of Samoa Joe with a chair and going mental, AJ Styles got busted open. Looked like he got busted open the hard way, by the way. I don't think he bladed on that match. Could be wrong, though. Nevertheless, I would have put this in a Hell in a Cell. I feel like this has a lot of heat. And I think, if I'm WWE, I want to say AJ Styles probably comes out on this match. But if I'm WWE, I'd put it on Samoa Joe. I feel like Samoa Joe would be a great heel champion. I put the belt on Samoa Joe. So I think Samoa Joe will take it. I think it would be smart to put the belt on him for a couple months. And then Styles eventually wins it back, right? Maybe some other face does. But I put that belt on. Samoa Joe is money, bro. He's a heel. He comes out every week, and everybody's going, Joe, Joe, Joe. People love him. And, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. You look at Samoa Joe. He looks like he's just like a perfect – he's got the perfect look. He just looks like a dude that would really beat you up in a street fight. I was going to say something else, but we got to keep it peachy.
Yeah, so, I go with Samoa Joe.
Yeah. And then this is the main event, this next one. Event. I think it's going to be a good one.
Champion Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman in the Hell in a Cell with Mick Foley, the legend, as the special guest referee.
I'm still trying to figure out what they're going to do with Foley. There's a reason they put him in this match. I don't know why. I don't think Foley shows up and just acts as a referee. There's going to be some kind of involvement. I'm praying they don't let Mick Foley take some stupid bump because he just had a hip replaced.
Maybe he got the other one replaced. Maybe he gets the other one replaced.
God bless him. The man is a legend, but he's really destroyed his body, making a career out of wrestling. But I feel like there's going to be some kind of involvement from him. I know Money in the Bank briefcase holders traditionally win, but they've never won when they announce a pre-scheduled match. So I'm going to say Roman Reigns goes over here, as much as I hate that. I think this is WWE's way of... How can I put it? I think they booked it to where Braun Strowman got the Money in the Bank briefcase thinking we want Braun Strowman to eventually cash in and become a Universal Champion. But I don't think they planned ahead far enough to think, well, we're going to have the title on Roman Reigns and Strowman wouldn't cash in and lose. That doesn't make any sense. So I feel like this is all ploy to just get rid of the briefcase and set up future matches between Strowman and Reigns. And maybe Strowman eventually wins, but I just don't think he goes over. I have a hard time believing that they would set up Roman Reigns to win the title at SummerSlam, finally beat Brock Lesnar, and then lose it on the next pay-per-view. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, WWE does stupid stuff.
If WWE was smart, they would have put to go. I won't go into too much of a rant here because I realize we're running long on this podcast to begin with. But like if WWE was smart, what they would have done is they would have had Samoa Joe take the title from Lesnar last year at Great Balls of Fire when he faced Lesnar at that pay-per-view. Samoa Joe was red hot. He wasn't a face. He wasn't a heel either. He was a tweener. But he was red hot. He was over. I feel like they could have sold merchandise. They're all about merchandise, right? They could have sold merchandise for days with Samoa Joe as champion, and that would have allowed Brock Lesnar to go do whatever the hell Brock Lesnar wants to go do. Hunt, do UFC, whatever. But they didn't do that. They kind of booked themselves into a corner here. It kind of sucks to see the briefcase go to waste. Who do you have winning this one? You're going Strowman. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope you're.
All right.
Strowman should have won that title a long time ago. But anyway, enough wrestling,
we're running
guys.
along, get to
Yeah.
the NFL.
Yeah.
Kind of quickly get through this. Actually, before we get there, Eric Carlson got traded. Best defenseman in the NHL, traded to the Sharks. Sad to see him. Won't see him in the playoffs anymore. As a Bruins fan, glad I won't see him in the playoffs anymore because he always destroys us in the playoffs. Gonna run that past that because Alex doesn't really like it. Here we go. What's the big week 1 NFL happened? It's in the books. The first game, week 2 happened actually. By the time it's coming out, it's already week 2.
Mm-hmm.
Can't believe it. But any standout things in week 1 that really caught your eye?
I gotta say, just to quickly go over it, I thought Pittsburgh looked pretty bad. In their passing game, running game looked good with James Conner. I know that some people would disagree with that, but I thought the fact that they tied with Cleveland was weird. How weird is it that Cleveland broke their losing streak by tying someone? I don't even know if that counts.
Fun fact about that?
What?
Teams that have 5+ turnovers in the game, like Cleveland did there, are all-time 136, 4, and 1. The tie is the Browns, and 2 of the losses are the Browns.
Well, there you go. I mean, it was just a really bizarre game. Tampa, I know we talked about it earlier, but Tampa Bay really surprised me as a Tampa Bay fan. You know, really happy to see that happen. Beyond that, I mean, it was a lot of the stuff that we kind of imagined. Buffalo looked as bad as they did. I will say
Arizona looked terrible.
Patrick Mahomes surprised me.
Tyreek the Freak Hill.
Yeah, but Patrick Mahomes looked really, really good up against a Hall of Famer in Phillip Rivers. And then finally, I will say Dallas.
Big stinker.
Y'all had every chance to win that game, and you didn't. But that's what stood out to me week 1.
Oh,
Andy?
and Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, that's NFL
Football
scripted.
gods himself.
Yeah.
Sit down Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Is absolute, fun fact, Bears were up 20-0. I was like, this game isn't going anywhere. I fell asleep. Woke up to the Twitter feed of everyone being like, that's the greatest football game I've ever seen in my entire life. Aaron Rodgers is a god.
Yeah, I started streaming, and I thought the game was over, and I had many people calling me out saying, hey, it's not over. So,
by the way, we did our picks last week. We both went 10-4.
Yep.
And 1 technically if we count the tie, but we're not because why? So we both went 10-4. I will say I did misspoke at one of the picks, so I would have been 11-3. But I misspoke. I'll live with my mistakes. There'll be a little asterisk, and I can use that against you. No, I'm kidding. I'll live with my mistakes. So let's get to the next week. We did, as we're recording this, the game's already happened. We did Cincinnati Bengals versus Baltimore in Cincinnati. I went with Cincinnati. Alexander went with Baltimore. We tweeted out 29% went with Cincinnati. And my prediction, the Cincinnati Bengals came through. Looked very nice in the first half. AJ Green, 3 receptions for 3 touchdowns at one point. AJ Green looked very nice. The Bengals offense looked nice. And then the second quarter hit and kind of looked...
sluggish.
It turned into a snooze fest.
Yeah.
There was like a 5 drives in a row that ended in a punt for the Bengals. The Ravens tried to make a comeback, but just didn't have the power, the offensive power to do it. I mean, that's it. So getting into our picks. Speaking of Kansas City and Pittsburgh, as we did, they're playing each other. Kansas City at Pittsburgh. And who do you got?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, I agree with you. Big Ben historically is great at home. So I got to go Pittsburgh, trying to get a revenge game with a tie. And humbling Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Then we have Houston at Tennessee. I'm going to go with Houston in this one.
Yeah, I've also got Houston. I have little to no confidence in Tennessee, especially given the fact that I don't know if Mariota's going to play, and even if he does, he's injured. Their backup is Blaine Gabbert. I found that out last Sunday, and I was like, wow, that guy keeps getting jobs.
I was at like a week 1 party, and everyone's like, who even is Tennessee's backup? And then eventually I realized it was the main man, Blaine Gabbert, and I was like, man, look at that. Blaine Gabbert's on an NFL roster. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I was sitting there being like, oh, it's Billy Volek, right? Just like going way back.
I mean, I'm rooting for the Titans because Mike Vrabel, I love him, head coach. But starting off the season 0-2 sucks.
Don't have any confidence in them.
And also, do we even count that week 1 game as a game, really? Because 2 weather delays, 4 hours of delay. Like, really.
I feel bad for the players.
Yeah. Like, I don't think, like, we should look at that as a point for anything.
Yeah.
Next, we have Indianapolis at Washington. Alex Smith looked good in his first game against a very poor Arizona. Indianapolis lost on a fumble recovery for a touchdown from the Bengals. Yeah. Going to Washington to pick up the win right here.
I mean, it's the Colts. They slip on a banana peel if they're about to win. I have Washington winning this one.
And we're agreeing all the way, besides the Cincinnati pick. Next up, we have the New York Jets and Sam Darnold threw a pick 6 first play last year. Or first play last week, he threw a pick 6. It looked kind of decent versus the Dolphins. I'm going with the Jets at home.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with the Dolphins here. I like what I saw from the Dolphins, and I don't know that Darnold's gonna continue to put out performances like that. So,
Kenyon Drake looked very solid last week.
Yeah, I thought the Dolphins as a whole looked pretty good, and you know, that is something that happens a lot in the NFL. Is some people call it addition by subtraction. You know, the Dolphins got a lot younger overnight.
Yeah.
And, you know, got rid of a lot of the big contracts, and I think it's worked for them. I think the Dolphins will be. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team, but they'll be competitive. They're not going to be an easy win for anybody. So I got the Dolphins here.
Especially a division rival.
Absolutely.
Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles up against your hometown team. I'll let you take this one. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who you got?
I'm going to continue to pick the Bucs until Fitzmagic lets me down. So I'm taking Tampa Bay.
I'm going the opposite way. Nick Foles until he lets me down. So, okay. I mean, it's kind of the same, but
fair enough.
Different side of the coin.
Fair enough.
Both, you know.
This is a 50-50 game to me, by the way. I really feel like this is a 50-50 game.
Yeah. I still have, like, Nick Foles gets it done every week, but every week I'm like, I don't have that much confidence in him.
The Atlanta game was a 50-50 game. Atlanta had chances to win that game. So my question for Tampa Bay is, when it comes down to it, can you make those 1 or 2 plays and win the game?
Then we have Cleveland at New Orleans. New Orleans getting embarrassed by Tampa Bay.
Well, they lost by 8. I mean, that's not really an embarrassment. But
Hall of Fame first ballot quarterback up against Fitzmagic.
So I don't think anybody can take Cleveland here. I mean, New Orleans is angry.
No, there's no way. You got to go with New Orleans.
And I believe New Orleans is playing at New Orleans is playing at home, right?
Yeah, it's in Mercedes.
Yeah. Drew Brees at home. Watch out, Cleveland.
Then we have Carolina at Atlanta. This is an ugly matchup, in my opinion. Both teams did not look good at all week 1.
This is another 50-50 game for me.
Injury, both on each team. Greg Olsen went down. Deion Jones is on the IR now for 9 to 10 weeks. Keanu Neal's out for the season. I'm going to go with Carolina, but, it's going to be an ugly game.
Yeah, you know, I took Atlanta in this one, but, I mean, literally, I took them because they're playing at home. Was it. I really don't have confidence in either one of these teams. The Greg Olsen thing, I think, is going to hurt a lot more than people realize. Mr. Devin Funchess, you got to step up. This is your opportunity. This is your moment. Kelvin Benjamin got traded. That was your moment to step up. But now it's doubly so.
DJ Moore's got to step up as well.
Yeah, but it's got to come from Funchess.
Yeah, Funchess is the guy.
He's got to be the guy, and I don't know that he has it in it, so I took Atlanta.
But, these two teams, preseason, everyone thought they're wild card bound, looking very bad.
See, Carolina started off so slow last year. Their offense was really atrocious. You wouldn't think so with all the options that they had on offense last year, but they couldn't make it work. And they brought it together. And Atlanta was the same way. Like, the last 8 weeks of the season, both of those teams were red hot at the right time.
Yeah.
They also got to beat up on the Bucks twice a year, so that helped.
It's always fun. New Orleans didn't.
Well,
Then we have the Chargers at Buffalo. This one's easy. You got to go Chargers. Josh Allen. Buffalo got destroyed last week, 47-3.
If you're a Bills fan, you're already looking forward to the draft. I hate that.
At this point in the season, you could quickly just every Bills game mark the other team for me.
It's not right. It's not right for the fans. It's not right for it's blatant taking. And
you think they win a game this year?
I think they'll win a couple, but I mean, because I think Josh Allen's good, and I think the defense is good enough to maybe do it. But that offense was so terrible last week. That defense didn't have a chance in hell. It's sad. I feel bad for Buffalo fans. They don't deserve it. They deserve better. That ownership group, I get it. They're in flux. They're new owners. But what they've done with that team, this is not a competitive football team.
Yeah. It's not even close.
Patriots are going to curb stomp them.
Oh, yeah. Twice a year. Easily. The Chargers will. Phillip Rivers? I mean, if you're a Melvin Gordon owner in fantasy football, you're happy with this matchup.
The Chargers lost last week, but that offense looked darn good.
But at the same time, Andy Reid, for some reason, like week 1, Andy Reid, he's like a madman. He's like, they always get it done week 1. The Chiefs. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
So
then it slows down.
Be that, discouraged from that game. And we have Minnesota. They picked up finally someone defeats Jimmy Jesus. They took down Jimmy G up against the football gods himself, Aaron Rodgers, if he plays. At the current moment, it looks like he's probably not going to play. I'm going to go with Minnesota. Even if Aaron Rodgers does play, the D-line's going to get to him, and hopefully he doesn't get hurt even more.
Yeah, I got Minnesota in this.
Defense
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't care if he plays or not. I think Minnesota takes this one. Minnesota looked really good last week. I like where
their offense looked good. Defense looked good.
That offense just has to be a B minus, and that defense will win them games.
And it's like Jacksonville, but they also have a competent offense.
And the Kirk Cousins investment after 1 week looks like it's paying off. So yeah, I got Minnesota here.
We have Detroit at San Francisco. Jimmy G's back on track. San Fran picks up the win.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Detroit looks pretty awful, and they're East Coast going to the West Coast. It's a pretty long trip for them. I don't have a lot of confidence in Detroit overall. San Fran, I think, is due for a win. As much as I hate that saying.
Just absolute trash. The Arizona Cardinals at LA. Cardinals look terrible week 1 up against contenders LA Rams. It's going to be I think the spread is 14, which I think it should be more based off week 1.
I mean, that's generate. You can't set a spread much higher than that, Andy.
I mean, yeah.
And I mean, just to be honest with you, Arizona, I know I talked about it, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I really feel like they're missing Bruce Arians more than anybody else. And that offense looked atrocious. They were getting booed in Phoenix. Like, they were getting booed in Phoenix. It was pretty bad. I got LA winning this one. It's going to be ugly.
So the college guys to make the spread and make it like negative 38-point favorites.
I mean, honestly, if I had to bet, and I know a lot of teams will take the foot off the gas pedal because they don't want to embarrass other guys, right? But I'd be surprised if the Rams didn't win by 21 or more.
Once again, as I said, like with Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley fantasy owners will be very happy after this game.
They're going to love it. David Johnson fantasy owners, I'm sorry.
The garbage time, just running up the gut to waste time. Oh, it's going to be nice. And they don't have anyone on defense to stop it. So, I mean.
Nope.
I mean, Chandler Jones can't do anything off the D line.
No, I don't. I don't think that they. I think they're much like the Buffalo Bills. I don't think that they aspire to build a competitive team this offseason. Larry Fitzgerald was their best player on offense last week, and that's not saying much. And
I think their standout guy would be Ricky Seals-Jones this week on offense, which isn't saying much. They're tight end.
I feel like they're relying way too much on players that they shouldn't be relying. It's not a good situation.
Just avoid everything Arizona. If I were you,
They'll have a good draft pick.
I mean, true.
You know,
top 3 with Buffalo and what was the one thinking of? Buffalo, Arizona, and Oakland.
yeah.
Then we have, speaking of Oakland, we have Oakland at Denver. Denver picks up a win, start off season 2-0 in Denver.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on that one. I think Denver looked great defensively. Case Keenum didn't look so great, but they look good enough defensively to make up for the offense that I think is still lacking a little bit of punch.
Then we have the highlight of the week, the New England Patriots at Jacksonville. Some say AFC Championship preview. And I'm going with New England.
Ooh, I'm sorry, my friend. I must disagree with you. I'm going Jax. Duval.
All right, gotta differ some picks.
It'll be it might be the game of the week.
It might be the game of the season.
It could be. I mean, it's gonna be a darn good game. I'm looking forward to it.
And then we have Sunday Night Football, division rivals, New York Giants versus the Cowboys. I think the Giants just beat the living crap out of Dallas in this game.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but yeah, I can't disagree there. Dallas looked really bad on offense.
Barkley looked bad last week besides one play, but then again, he was playing the Jacksonville defense, and the Cowboys don't even touch Jacksonville defense.
I think Barkley eats well here. I think Odell Beckham probably eats even better. He had a pretty good game. He stayed out. They kept him out of the end zone. Jacksonville did.
Yeah, he had 11 receptions for 111 yards.
But they kept him out of the end zone, which I think is a win, because I think that's how they game plan for Odell Beckham. Just keep him out of the big plays. Let him get the receiving yards. It's fine.
Evan Ingram's probably step up in this game than last week.
Yeah, I feel like the Giants will. The Giants have more offensive cohesion than the Panthers do. So
Maybe
I feel like they should be much.
Actually, definitely better than the Falcons.
What?
The offense.
Well, yeah, it's just like I look at Dallas, like they had a hard time, against the Panthers
Carolina.
or Panthers offense rather. So like I feel like the Giants, who look good offensively considering they're playing Jacksonville, will probably come in here and do pretty well. And Dallas's offense is really atrocious. Like
at one point,
Cowboys fans are calling for Scott Linehan's head. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh yeah, my roommate's a hardcore Cowboys fan.
Oh, okay, then you know.
At one point, I was just throwing his face. The Cowboys were the only team in the NFL to not score a point until like the fourth quarter of that game.
Yeah, they had every chance to win that game. They didn't.
We have our Monday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks versus Chicago Bears back in prime time. The Bears, second week in a row in prime time, and I'm gonna go with the Chicago Bears coming back from an embarrassing loss. Khalil Mack, though, week 1. I forgot to mention the standout. The dude looked like a monster.
He did. I agree with you. I have very little faith in Seattle. They didn't look very good to me last week, as I expected. I'm going with Chicago. So Chicago takes it over Seattle.
I will say one last thing, one like little statistic for people, fantasy owners of Royce Freeman that are kind of discouraged from last week, maybe. I think it was like 78% of the plays that he ran the ball, the box was stacked to 8 men.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
So this week, the Raiders give it 5.5 yards per rush last week. So your Royce Freeman owners, you should definitely start him. Yeah, don't be scared. Don't be discouraged.
Yeah, the Raiders are a team, and
good game script for him.
How is it that they hired a coach and paid
The most
him
paid
so?
coach in the league
Yeah, by far. I
by a
think.
lot.
Yeah, by a considerable margin. How is it
He's
that
making like Nick
they?
Saban money.
Yeah, like that's obviously a win now move, but they kind of feel like a team that's
That's just a dumpster
rebuilding.
fire.
I don't know, man. It's weird. Weird
But,
situation for Oakland.
long episode. I think it's
Yeah.
time to call it.
Yeah, we really got to call it because I'm actually probably running out of hard drive space. But real quick before I do, and then I'll let Andy say anything he wants to say. Again, want to thank everybody for the August 2018 downloads. They were great. We doubled over the previous month. Thanks for that. You guys know where to find us. We're on iTunes, Stitchers, Spotify now. You can find us on deadchannelduo.com, YouTube. Yeah, you got the video version on there. And then finally, buy a DCD t-shirt. Perfect t-shirt to wear on a first date. I promise. They're on sale. They're on sale right now for $14 on TeePublic.
Buy one for your kids.
Yeah, I think
mom.
I think you can get in a baby tee if you really want to. Put your kid in that if you want to. Probably be the coolest kid around. But yeah, we always got the link in the description. Andy, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
UK huge win over Florida this week.
Mm-hmm.
Super nice. You don't beat UK 32 times in a row.
That's
and
funny.
I had another point. Oh, Red Sox, 101 wins. Let's go. First team to 100 wins. If they win all the remaining games, they're the greatest team of all time.
Could be, man. Marlins still suck. But I'll tell you this much. At the very least, I can say go Bucks. Siege today.
Another fun fact.
Yeah.
If you add the Yankees and the Red Sox losses, the Orioles still have more losses.
The Orioles are like historically bad, and it's kind of sad in a way.
But that's gonna be all for the DCD podcast, episode number 11. It was a good one.
All right, see you guys next week.
TV show. Deuce. Bye.